Hi students, it's Miss Daly.
This week we will explore shadows. What is a shadow? When can you see yours? Can you make your shadow move, bend, stretch, or shrink? Everyday objects can make shadows, but how? A shadow is made with a light source. Light is a form of energy. Sources of light can be the sun, a lamp, or a flashlight. When the light is blocked by an object, we see the object's shape in the form of a shadow. This shadow is dark because the light does not pass through the object. It's fun to try to guess what objects are making a shadow. I'll explain 2 ways you can learn about shadows. Try one today and share what you learned on Seesaw with me. On video 2, Miss Learned will help you create shadow puppets. And in video 3, you can use your puppets in your very own puppet theater to entertain your family. Choice number 1, shadow tracing. One fun way to see shadows move over time is to try an experiment outside. Find one of your toys. Make sure the toy is opaque or solid. Also, it needs to be a little bit heavy so it won't blow away. Go ahead and put it in your driveway or in your yard on a piece of paper. You can even use chalk. What we're going to do is you're going to note the time that you start your experiment. It's 10:30 in the morning right now, so I'm going to write that down on my piece of paper. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the shadow that is being cast by the toy at 10:30 in the morning. So I'm going to trace around the object as best I can. If I'm using chalk, I'm going to go ahead and pick up one colored piece of chalk. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write down the time. In the same color chalk, I am going to trace the shadow that is being cast on my driveway. I can even do it with a water bottle. Okay, now that I have drawn my shadows at 10:30 in the morning, I'm going to go ahead and leave my toys and my objects right here, and I'm going to come back in a few hours to see if the shadow shape changed. I'm back. It's been 2 hours, and look at how the shadow has changed. I'm going to go ahead and document my results. I'm going to write down the time. I'm putting this in a new color because later on I want to look at my paper and remember that the shadow was different depending on what time of day I traced the shadow. So now it's 12:30 p.m. It is now afternoon. And I'm going to go ahead and take this color and I'm going to go around the new shadow that's being cast. I'm going to go ahead and trace my second object. Okay. I'm over here with the chalk objects. So if you did yours in chalk, you'll do the same thing. I'm picking up a new color of chalk, writing down the time that I'm checking on my shadows, and I'm going to go ahead and use that same colored chalk to trace the outline of the new shadow being cast. It's now 2:30 in the afternoon, and I can notice that my shadow is really starting to get longer because the sun has moved across the sky and is now coming in this direction. So the shadow is going in the opposite direction. And look how tall it is. It's so much taller than the other shadows earlier in the day. So I'm going to go ahead and take my third color marker, which is green, and I'm going to go ahead and outline the new shadow that's been cast at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and record the shadows that are happening over here on my chalk experiment as well. So which shadow is the longest shadow right now? Can you see the differences there? 10:30, 12:30, 2:30. I wonder what it'll be like at 4:30. I'll be back. By the time I came out at 4:30, the sun was starting to set behind my house. Without the light source, there would be no shadow for me to record. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. 4:30, no shadow. I might leave my work here overnight and try to see if I can come back 2 hours before I started this experiment tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. I wonder if my shadow will be here or here. Let's check out the chalk experiment. Again, the sun has set. It's late in the day. It's 4:30 now. There is no shadow. The light source is gone. I'll check on this in the morning. All right, I'm back the next morning at 8:30 in the morning. Now, before I show you where the shadow is, I want you to take a guess. So yesterday, I tracked the shadow that was being cast by the sun as it was moving across the sky from 10:30 to 12:30 to 2:30 and 4:30. Where do you think the shadow is going to be now that it's 8:30 in the morning? Let's see. Wow. Do you see that difference? The sun is now really low in the sky. It's morning, and it's casting a really stretched and long shadow. I have a new color pen. I'm going to go ahead and record this data. It is now 8:30 a.m. And I'll go ahead and trace the outline. Had to add an extra piece of paper here. The shadow got so long. All right, let's check out the chalk. Whoa! Again, the morning shadow is so much longer and stretched out. And you can see that the sun is coming from behind the objects. That way, right where I'm standing. So I'm going to go ahead and trace these and record my results. I have a new colored piece of chalk. This is 8:30 in the morning.
All right. I hope that you can get a chance to do this experiment, whether it's with markers on paper with toys or just whatever objects you have at home with some chalk on your driveway.
Making shadows inside.
Hey, let's play around with shadows. Maybe you have a lamp or a flashlight that you can use at home to do some of these fun shadow experiments. All you need to do is make sure that your light source is facing the wall so that you can put an object in front of the light to cast a shadow. We're going to see what happens when we change the distance the object is from our light source, and we're going to go on a scavenger hunt to collect some different items to test if all materials make the same kind of shadow. So I hope you can do these activities with me at home. Go ahead and gather some objects or toys from around your house. Put them on your work surface, and we're going to try to make a shadow. Which way should my light shine? Well, if you have a flashlight, you want to make sure that your light source is pointing towards your objects. Light travels in a straight line, so my light has to be pointing at my objects to make a good shadow. If my light source is moving away from me in a line that's not pointing to my objects, I won't be able to see a shadow. So make sure your light source is pointing at your objects that you are trying to cast a shadow with. What happens when I move my flashlight closer to the object? What happens when I move my flashlight away from the object? I can also change the angle. Now I'm getting a really good shadow with that straight line, but what if my light source comes at an angle? I can also try it the other direction. If I switch the light source to come from the top, their shadows are gone. Try to experiment a little bit with your flashlight and your objects and see if you can learn a little bit about how shadows change.
Choice activity number 2, sorting objects using light.
The second activity that you can try at home is testing different objects around your house in front of a light source. Do all objects create shadows? There are 2 important vocabulary words I would like to tell you about before you test. The first word is opaque. Opaque. Opaque is a word that describes objects that block light. What kinds of objects block the light? Solid objects. If objects are solid, they don't let the light pass through them. Therefore, they are opaque and they make great shadows. We can't see through opaque objects. The second word is transparent. Transparent objects do not block light. We can see right through them, and the light also passes right through them, so they do not cast a shadow. These 2 words are the way I want you to sort objects around your house. Look around your house for different things. Can you find 5 things that are opaque and make great shadows? Can you find 5 objects that are transparent and do not create shadows? Make a sort. Show me your work on Seesaw.
Which activity will you choose to do? Have fun! See you next time.